Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back into Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. John Turner alongside Nathan Wenger. He is back. As Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I'm back. He's back. It's Thursday. It is the second to last day of the week, and that just means we're getting started here at NSN. And we're happy to have you along wherever you're watching, near and far. I am live right now on Instagram as well. So if you want to tune in there, I'm sure Nathan might be live on our TikTok or TikTok somewhere. Who knows? We're always live on every platform we could possibly be on. But we are live right now on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Roku. So you can watch us on your TV, on your phone, on a website. It doesn't matter. But either way, happy to have you along wherever you're watching, near and far. Now, Nathan, yesterday, John, Natalie, and I got into a great conversation about U.S. Open Cup. We'll dive into that this morning. We have a poll up on our website I want to talk about as well. And it's a question that we asked, kind of a roundabout question here earlier this week on the show, I think back on Tuesday, in regards to MLS teams and all that. So we're gonna ask that question. Is currently on our website. We'll talk about how you can get involved in that poll as well. But here's something that we didn't talk about, me and you yesterday, is on Tuesday I had went and watched Nathan's track meet. All right, so I went and watched it. Right, we had talked about how Nathan was in running track, and he was involved in it. And we joked around yesterday that my son didn't actually didn't run at all. The only running he did on Tuesday would have been maybe to go see his friends about 20 feet from where he was located at one point or another. That was the only running I saw. But the reason I joke about this is yesterday, my wife went to pick up Nathan from school, and on Tuesday night, when we got to the restaurant to have dinner, his phone died. So he's forced to have to talk to us at dinner. And you know, that
what a shame.
It's crazy how these kids have to figure out how to talk to us.
It's tough
at dinner. So on Tuesday night, his phone dies at dinner. We go home. I'm sure he charges it up and everything. And then yesterday goes to school. I get a weird text message around like lunchtime saying yes to a question I had asked him the day before that finally he probably saw because of like the fact that his phone was dead. And it says, like yes, and it's a weird response. Anyways, so fast forward to yesterday afternoon, Bianca calls me. I had just taken a quick nap. Literally, it's like 4:22. I just sat on the couch and I instantly fell asleep. It's a thing of beauty, to be fair, when you can just hit the couch, you immediately hit into sleepiness. It's fantastic. So I get a wake up call and she's like, "Hey, have you heard from Nathan?" I go, "No, why?" She's like, "Well, his phone's not picking up. I think it's dead." I go, "Oh, okay." We start texting, can't get a hold of the kid. He had put his phone in his locker at school, and he had gone and ran track practice. And after practice, he went back to his locker, and the locker was locked. And he couldn't get it unlocked; it wasn't working. And so he's trying to run around the school, trying to find someone to help him get his phone out of his locker. It's not getting out. It's not, can't. So my wife finally connects with him in the school, and there's a teacher there, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't help you, but there's another teacher that can help you tomorrow morning." So I guess your punishment tonight, Nathan, is you get to talk to your parents at dinner again. And so this kid, he gets home from school yesterday. He is just broken up, man. He's just like, "This is not right. I don't have a phone. I don't."
Who are you people?
This is terrible. He had to talk with us. He's like, "I have appointments I have to handle." Like he's like.
People I gotta call.
Man, I can't talk.
Place I gotta go.
I felt no. I didn't feel any pain for this kid whatsoever.
No, nor should you. Man. It has to be trial by fire. You gotta be put in those situations to try and get out of that a little bit. And he probably had all the other technology. So I mean, it's not like he's completely lacking for technology. It's not like we were going back to the Amish days there. Like he had stuff, but yeah, it's you gotta put him in those spots, man. That's funny. I don't know. I don't realize how you put your phone in your locker and then lock it in there. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be the important thing. Maybe to save it from anybody taking it at track practice. That part I get, but that's man, especially in coming from a high school too, where the lockers just sucked. I mean, when I was in high school, they were just bad. I mean, you could enter in the combination, and there were sometimes you felt like you had to get one of those power tools just to pry it open. I can relate to that because I've had a few things get stuck in mine, and then we've had to pull off the great rescue. 3 or 4 of my friends just trying to rip this one locker open because the school was built in the 50s. Peter, what's up? Happy Mario Lemieux number 66 episode. Good poll on your end. Mario Lemieux. That's a good poll. It's a deep hockey poll right there. He probably had Lincoln Logs to play with after. You guys play a little board game or something?
Huh? No, he got home. Well, so last night I wanted to watch U.S. Open Cup, right? So that was on Paramount Plus. So I watched, a bunch of those games last night because kind of bouncing back and forth. And no, he ran upstairs and immediately hopped on his Oculus Quest Meta goggle thingamajiggies, and immediately started to hold his appointments there. This kid, I have appointments. I go, what? I go, what girl are you talking to? I go, girl, are you talking to?
Appointments.
What the hell is an appointment? What the hell is this?
Is that what they're calling it nowadays?
He's calling it an appointment. This is. See, back
dates are now appointments in 2025. That's what they call it now.
Well, back when I was in high school, I think we used the word talking. Oh, we're talking to a girl, right? But I didn't equate that to dating. I equate that to I was really having a conversation with that person. Like I'm talking to this person, right? I wasn't like, I'm trying to date this person. But now talking is in fact the dating, right? That person's talking to someone, they're dating. Now we've told our kids they can't date until they're 16 at the earliest. And to be fair, we actually used to make this joke last night. I go, well, because Brianna, our daughter, loved her to death. She's like, I don't want to have kids, and the reason she said this because she's the oldest and she's been taking care of our kids. So we joked around like with our other kids last night. When Brianna has kids, you guys can start dating. But yeah, so our rule is you can't date until you're 16. And
that's a good rule. I like that.
I think so. I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, the world's complicated.
You don't know who you are before then.
You don't know who you are until you're 20. To be fair, I still don't know who I am.
Yeah,
I'm in my 40s.
That's fair. So that's fair. Yeah, me too. So like, maybe the cutoff should be like 40. You don't start dating until you're 40, and then maybe you know a little bit more about yourself. No, I'm kidding, but no, that's a good rule.
I did want to dive, and I think it's important. And first things first, we will always try to steer clear of anything that would be controversial in nature, in regards to political and religious and whatever. We have our beliefs, we have our opinions, and to be fair, I don't believe I need to be sharing those with anybody on this on this podcast. But I do want to make this statement. I think it's important to say this is that we are not unaware of the world that we live in. Right? We are well aware of the world that we live in, the good, the bad, the ugly. Right.
Yep.
And my message to anybody out there is that whatever you're compelled to do what you're compelled to do. Right. But I honestly believe that if we could all just focus on being better people, and being better husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, right. And showing love. It's the hardest thing in the world for us I'm telling you right now, it is so hard to do, especially when it's coming at you, right? But if we can just find that way to be able to do that, it'll all work out. I really do believe that. And it's not meant to be in any specific situation. I'm just saying that we could all just take a deep breath. We could all just, and I promise you, it'll work out because it does. It typically finds a way to work itself out. And
right.
And again, I'm not saying you can't get vocal, you can't get involved, you can't. No, I mean, it doesn't matter what topic or what situation we're talking about. We all there's something that is always going to compel us to want to step up and do something. It could be you walking down the street and seeing a homeless person, right? It could be, a sibling or a family member gets involved with something or in trouble with something, right? It could be a death, it could be whatever. I mean, there are so many things that would compel someone to do something. Let's be honest. Most people don't like cancer, right? I mean, I would say all people don't like cancer, right? I mean, that's probably right. And a lot of us don't necessarily think about it too much until it hits us personally, right? Until someone in your family has it, it doesn't necessarily impact you the same way. It's like, oh
Right.
my gosh, that's terrible that that person has cancer. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, somebody has it in my family. Now I'm more compelled to do something. And that's usually how we are as individuals. We get this personal connection to something, and that kind of takes over. And so all I would say is if you're compelled to do something, be compelled, but always try to hold yourself to being the best version of yourself as you possibly can. And hey, even if there's hate being thrown your way, do everything you can to not allow that to deviate you from what you're trying to accomplish. And if love is in the forefront, then it'll all work out. And that's what I just wanted to say this morning, because I feel like we're so quick to just like just jab back. We're just so
Right.
quick to fight back, and I'm
Yep.
not saying that we shouldn't be fighting back with something, or that you
Hmm.
shouldn't fight back. I look at it like going, okay, first off, you should pick your battles. I think that there are certain battles you shouldn't pick, and there are ones that you should. And then second, I think the other part of this is, and because Dan and I talk about this a lot, Nathan, we as a society are more lazy today than we've ever been. And that's not like meant to be a knock, but we don't take the time to truly understand something. And if I look at promotion relegation, I truly believe that that is a laziness point of view from a large percentage of the soccer population who don't quite understand what it would take for promotion and relegation to be successful in this country. I truly believe that. It's a lazy point of view. Go do your research and find out if it's even possible. Understand it before you start saying, oh, this is the greatest thing we should have ever done in the history of mankind. Right? That's how I look at this. We are lazier today than we've ever been. And you're not going to read a 35-minute article about something. Who's going to go read the Supreme Court briefs of this, that, or the other?
True.
Who's going to do that? I mean, so like, my point is go educate yourself on something. Go educate, understand it, and make sure you understand it so that you're picking the right battle as well. And that's an area I think that we struggle with, especially in our current state climate. Is we are quick to jump to what we consider to be a point of view or a perspective, and once somebody comes in who has a different perspective, we tend to want to just fight and fight and fight and fight, and it's just not. I just don't know what it gets you. And that's what I just wanted to say this morning is, can we just all be a little bit better?
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless who's coming at you, if we could all just focus on being better, I think it'll all work
Yeah.
itself out in the long run.
We live in a world that is tailor made for confirmation bias, and that all stems from how socially connected we are. And unfortunately, with how advanced technology has become, we possess technology that is designed with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our already previous beliefs in mind, that just continues to feed us exactly what we believe already. And so that's when people kind of get to a point to where they believe they know everything. They believe that they have everything figured out, everything that they see, whether it be on social, whether it be on the news, whether it be anywhere else. It all just confirms whatever they believed in the first place. Um, and so that's the really hard part in my mind, is the fact that it's almost impossible to kind of break that. And I think as a society, we're starting to now realize just how negative that can be. And then there's the other side of it too, which is, people just want to believe things just to be different, just to kind of set themselves apart, to be free thinkers. Ever since the introduction of what we start to call alternative facts or alternative thinking or alternative methods. No, it's not alternative. You just want to make it your own and pretend like you know more than what you know. And so that's a problem. But the other side of it too is it also has created this bubble around us to where we don't have to be open to any new ideas. We don't have to be open to any new ways of thinking. We don't have to be open to any new ways of doing things because, again, everything that we see all around us already confirms what we already want to know or what we already believe we know. And so it's impossible unless you actually make a concentrated effort to think objectively, unless you actually make a dedicated 100% effort to doing that. You're just going to buy into whatever it is that you see and whatever it is that you're surrounded by. And that inherently is the problem. And I grew up on the mentality, and I was raised to believe, and this is still remains, the most accurate statement there is. So I'll give you a couple of them here. Number one, treat people right and they'll treat you right. That's the ultimate truth. And it's amazing how if you make a friend out of someone that maybe isn't looked at too fondly, or maybe someone that's cast away, or maybe someone that's overlooked, you're going to have a friend for life. And I've gotten to that place with a couple of people in my life, maybe the kid that wasn't the popular one in school, still get messages from them, or if it's someone at the ballpark who might, be overlooked or not talked to a lot, or maybe they're shy or quiet or whatever it is, make friends with that person. Another friend for life. I mean, it is really amazing, and it could just be is something as simple as saying, hi, what's up? How are you? I mean, something as basic as that can really make a difference. And I even remember there was a day, and we've had our struggles with trying to market and promote our company. When you're in the growing stage, it feels like the Wild West. And I'm sure you can confirm that, JT. I mean, it feels like some days we're almost throwing darts at the dartboard because there are some things that have stuck and there's some things that aren't. But we're in that position now to where we just have to keep throwing those darts, and we have to keep trying to figure out what works, what's getting through to people. And we're doing a good job of that. But, I remember texting you and being like, hey, you know that I'm busting ass, but I'm like, I just wanted to, hey, I hope that you feel like you made the right decision. I hope you feel like everything's, going the way that it should. And even the simple act of you being like, yeah, no, absolutely. I wish I had more of you. Even something as simple as that is enough to really make someone go, okay, everything's all right. We're doing good. We're making the right moves. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, so the simple adage of treating people the way that, you would want to be treated is really, I realize it's oversaid, but it is the most true statement in the world. There's nothing more true than that. The other thing I'll say is control the controllables. And that's the hardest part, JT, frankly, because I think you and I are both kind of like that in the way that we see stuff that's wrong and we want it to be right. It's not this, I see stuff, or I see people not doing their jobs right, or I see things happening here or there, and I'm like, I want to control it. I want to change it. Let me do that. You can't do that with everything. And if you feel like you can do that with everything, you're going to lose your mind in the process. And so control the controllables and treat people the way you want to be treated, and being open to new ideas. And I know that you wanted to tie this into Pro-Rel, and I, to a certain extent, I agree, because you're right. And I think the U.S. Open Cup results yesterday, and I know we'll dive into this, I think it proves what you were saying, that the level of talent between the different levels is not that all that significant in the United States, and then you factor in, the logistics and the travel and all that stuff. So you're 100% right. I mean, when you see how many games went into added time and then penalty, even shootouts yesterday, it was crazy to see. And these are all different levels playing each other. And I mean, I think there was only one real upset yesterday. So to that degree, you have a point. I mean, they're a lot closer, even between the different levels, than what we think. So it's not necessarily something that's going to be groundbreaking or changing. You're right. It is. And I think you referred to it yesterday as, quote, a sexy conversation. And it is. I think it's something that just incites soccer fans. It gets them talking more. But at the same exact time, I'll say this, and I don't know how you feel about this. Even if it doesn't work out, even if it doesn't really change the bottom line of what exactly we're looking at, because to your point, we don't have the best players in the U.S. Open Cup. We don't have, the best players, the most talented players playing in this system and in this tournament. And it's a closed system in the MLS. And you confirm that that's probably frustrating for a lot of people. But at the same exact time, I feel like there should be at least a willingness and an openness to the American fan to just try something different, right? Because I don't know if I can draw a complete parallel line, but it almost seems like the U.S. soccer is always in that growth stage. Like, we're always trying new things to figure out what exactly is going to work. And so I think that might be their dart that they're throwing at the dartboard is Pro-Rel. Does it work here? Does it change the bottom line? I don't know if it does, but I think at the very least, we can kind of be open to the idea and see exactly what that proposes for American soccer. But anyways, on the other stuff that you said, you're 100% right. But, I'm open to the idea of seeing what happens with it. Is the talent level all that steep or different between the levels? No. And the drop off between the MLS and the USL, you're right, is significant. But, I heard John Natale say this the other day. The U.S. Open Cup is great for amateurism because it creates an excitement within these communities. Chattanooga, Tennessee, and all these other places, and Indy 11, and that's great. But how do we market it to the other 48, 49 states? To get everyone excited. Because there's no real bona fide superstar. The best of the best aren't playing, and I'm sitting there listening to it on the way back from my minor league game, and I'm almost kind of like, well, outside of Messi, because we all know who the biggest star in the MLS is, and he's not from America, and nor would I ever expect Messi to compete in the U.S. Open Cup for whatever it's worth. But who else is our bona fide superstar in the United States that's playing in the MLS?
Yeah, no, and it's spot on, and we can talk about it, until hell freezes. Last night, who took Detroit City FC draws 5,000 to 7,000 fans to every game.
Yeah,
I watched the game last night. There wasn't 5,000 fans at that stadium. So yeah, local communities in the amateur space who are fighting for growth are going to fill seats in these environments. But Louisville City in the USL Championship had an empty stadium 2 nights ago. Empty stadium. These communities where these larger teams are, they don't give a shit about this tournament. They don't give a shit. Why aren't they there?
Right.
I'm looking at empty stadiums. Empty stadiums for U.S. Open Cup. They don't give a shit. Right? I look at last night's Detroit City FC again. There might have been 2,500 people there, maybe. The Northern Guard, who is their fan base, had a good showing, but not a great. Why isn't the entire Northern Guard there watching that game? Why aren't they there rooting on their team? Because they don't give a shit about that game. They don't care. They don't take it as seriously. This is my problem. You're right. Yeah. You have a ton of teams out there who give a shit. El Farolito gives a shit because, let's be honest, this is their World Cup.
Yeah.
But is it the World Cup to USL Open? No. To USL Championship teams? No, it's not.
No.
It is not. And so, yes, my problem is that we want soccer to grow in this country, right? And there's no doubt. What was on TV last night that would have been worth watching? I mean, college basketball is over with, right? I mean, both men's and women's is over with. Baseball just got rolling. NBA and hockey are still going, but let's be honest. I mean, those things aren't. I'm not saying that they aren't going to draw fans, but I mean, we're not. If you're telling me that you can go watch a Major League Baseball game on a Wednesday night in the freezing cold, or go watch a U.S. Open Cup match in the freezing cold, which one seems like a better option on a Tuesday or Wednesday night? I would argue it's a soccer game because it's not going to last 17 hours. So that's my first perspective on this. But if you're telling me what we're not fighting against the NFL right now. It's not like there's a football game, a college football game that's going to draw 100,000 fans into a city. This is people just not giving a shit.
Right.
That's what it is. It's just not giving a shit. And okay, well, fine. They're watching it on TV. Okay, but isn't that defeat the purpose of what they're trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
Great. All the MLS teams, all 16 of them are going to show up here in the round of 32. All right. And that's when we're going to start seeing MLS sides, which is, great. Right. What we're going to still see empty stadiums. All right. That's what we're going to still see.
Right.
Where I struggle with this. Here we're talking about the U.S. Open Cup, and we're going to put the results on the screen here in a moment. And you're right. I think 4 out of the 8 matchups yesterday went to
Yeah.
PKs. I mean, it was some insane number.
That's
I'm
nuts.
gonna put it on the screen right
Yeah.
now. I mean, this is nuts. Here they are.
Mhm.
So I'm looking. Okay, so yeah, so PK. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of there yesterday went to PKs. FC Naples went to 9 kicks. Tampa Bay Rowdies coming away in that one with a win in penalties, the 9th kick. Detroit State FC winning decisively. From the opening whistle, they were just all over Westchester. It didn't even look close. But you got to find a way to put the back of the net, and they did. Indy 11 coming away with a 1-0 win in a that's a USL Championship League match, basically. That's Miami FC Indy 11. So that matchup is pretty spot on. FC Tulsa versus Phoenix Rising. That game went to PKs again as well, 4-2. Colorado Springs Switchbacks. They won 3-2 in full time over one Knoxville SC. So that's a good victory for them. El Paso Locomotive winning in penalties yesterday over New Mexico United. Sacramento Republic beating El Farolito 1-0. Now, again, that is a USL Championship team barely beating El Farolito, who plays in the NPSL.
Right.
Barely
right.
beating them. I don't know what the
Yep.
stats are. I'd have to go look at the stats to see what that game looked like. But that's
Mhm.
an interesting matchup, to say the least. Las Vegas Lights losing to the Chattanooga Red Wolves in penalties 4-3. Right? So, New Mexico again. We look at this and go, my goodness, man! Very, very interesting, to say the least. Las Vegas Lights in the USL Championship and Chattanooga Red Wolves are in the USL League One, so a step below them. If this isn't parody, I don't know what is. By the way, Nathan, this is parody at its finest.
Right.
But I didn't look at all the games last night. Nor did I look at all the games the previous night. I know that Rhode Island Portland, Maine game, I think Portland was the home team in that one. I believe that had a really big crowd. But Portland's a brand new team, right? They're brand new. They're fighting, right? That's a team that is, you're going to draw fans in those environments, right?
Right.
Again, that's why I just said this whole thing is disingenuous to the team that's treating this like it's their World Cup. It's like a slap in the face.
Mhm.
If you're this team that's rising up, and again, I didn't look at the El Farolito game last night, but I would like to hope to think that game had a good fan base there.
Yeah.
You like to hope to think that game had some good crowds, right? But
It's JT. I want it, and here's my question. And I would ask you this question too. Would it just be better? Would it just be better to make this strictly an amateur cup? Because I'm at this point in the way that we've been talking over the last couple of episodes where it's like this thing with the MLS where it's almost kind of like either shit or get off the pot.
It won't
That's
be.
where we are.
No, because they won't carry the same weight. It won't. I mean, if you're again, the reality of this cup is that you're taking amateurs and professional teams and you're mixing them together, and that's what makes it sexy. Right? If it's just another amateur cup, it's not the same. It doesn't have that same pull or draw, and it's not going to draw the same type of notoriety as it would otherwise. So you're going to have to. But I'm just saying you have to change the format.
Yeah,
you just got to change the format.
Right.
I honestly, what you should probably do is you should have over here on this side, you should have the amateur bracket, right? Where all the amateur teams are playing against each other. And on this side over here, you get the professional bracket, right? And then somewhere along the lines, those professional and amateur brackets will come together. Right. And I'm not thinking that it's early on. And granted, I think there are a lot of amateur teams are playing early on against other amateur teams. But I feel like right now, like El Farolito should be playing against another. But here lies the problem, too, geographically. Right. El Farolito played Sacramento. They didn't fly across country to go play Portland, Maine. Right. Here, again, we're gonna have to address this. El Farolito doesn't have the money to fly its entire team to Portland, Maine on a Tuesday night for a game. Okay? They don't have the money. Right? So that's the problem. Yeah. Again, this is the problem. These amateur teams have to figure this out. Right. They have to figure this out. They have to figure out how to pull this thing off. Got to go get sponsorships. And that is the single hardest thing to do at this level is to pull this thing off. And
Yep.
so I don't disagree with you that reevaluating this thing is what's
Just find a way to
necessary.
reformat it. Yeah, I mean, with the MLS just coming in, and that's even reading these articles. Like now, with 16 MLS teams set to join the cup, it's like it's not just like a first round bye or a second round bye. It's like you literally wait until you get the field whittled down all the way to where it is now, and then all of a sudden you implement professional teams. And even that whole agreement between the MLS and the United States Soccer Federation about what their involvement was going to be and exactly what that was going to look like, that was even spotty too, because it was kind of like this half in, half out thing. It was like, okay, well, we'll stay involved, but not really, but we'll only come in at this certain point. And to your point, JT, they only send the reserves. They don't send their best players. And so, that to me is really hard. And it's also tough not to just look at it all and just go, you know what? How about we just tear the whole thing down and just start over again? That's the other side of it too, and that's so easy to say. And I've always been kind of critical of people who look at a system, look at the way something's done, and go, I don't like it. Okay, that's easy. Like everyone can just look at something and go, I don't like it. That's great. Fine. How do you fix it? Okay, let's throw out some ideas here. Let's throw out some stuff that maybe we think will be good in fixing this. So I'm not normally the one to be like that. But there's also that other element to me too, is just like what like there's
I,
also that need to
I think a
just
single
tear the thing
location.
down.
I think this thing drawing out for 9 months is stupid.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I understand you want to treat this thing like the FA Cup or whatever you want to call it, but
right.
it's not. I think
Yeah,
that you need to host this thing over almost like any other tournament, right? All these teams come in into a single location where there's a bunch of fields,
yes,
and these games are all
yes,
taking place at the same time. You go through,
right,
yeah, and hey, if it's 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks. But you
right.
just have them all come into the same. We have so many places around this country that have fantastic soccer facilities where you could, pull a whole thing off. And these games they're all happening right now across the country, anyways. So bring all these teams in who are part of the U.S. Open Cup. They get 3 round robin games, right? Boom, boom, boom. Best of 3, right? Bring them in, and you know what? And that includes every team. Doesn't matter what team. MLS doesn't matter. Bring them all in, and you know what? Boom, 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 boom. They play. And over the course of 2 weeks, or maybe it's a month, I don't know. I mean, you do this.
Right.
And the federation has to step up to help those teams that maybe doesn't have the money. That's where they step up into the situation and say, you know what, we're going to help you. We're going to help you with your room and board. Again, if you do this at the right place, you're going to go to maybe some local college campus, and let them stay in dorms there, like you would for like the Olympics or the World Cup, right? Just put these teams and players in those environments. The teams that can afford to pay it, they can do their thing. But this is what you do. And
Yeah.
guess what? It becomes this round, not this one game elimination crap where you're just hoping and praying to get by. No,
Mm-hmm.
make it round robin, man. Not round, have them play group play, and then from
Yeah.
there they go into the next level and do it over the
Mm-hmm.
course of 3 weeks. Problem solved. And I can tell you this right now: everybody in America would get behind that damn tournament, man. Everybody. Tell me I'm
Yep.
wrong, America. I'm sure you probably, on some level, no, I don't know. No, this would be great. It would be great.
Right.
And you know what?
Right.
Fans could travel in. It'd be great.
Right.
It'd be great. I mean, it'd be a great. And then while all that's happening, you could have a whole bunch of other things happen to help highlight and elevate soccer. You could do that every year. And the cool thing about it is, if you do it right, U.S. Soccer, it could be held at locations all across the country. So you could have one this year in Arizona, next year it could be in California, they could be back in the Midwest, and it happens every year in like May to like June area, right there, right where a lot of times it becomes dead space
Mm-hmm.
in our country, right? So I think that would be a fantastic way to do this, and it wouldn't
Make
it
an
wouldn't
event
hurt
out of
the
it.
tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. Make an event out of it. Bring everybody into one location. Make that announcement. Try to give these clubs a leg up as much as you possibly can, because you're right. I mean, to go from one place to the other, and that's the other part of the pro rel conversation. And two, like stepping outside of the U.S. Cup, I think it all ties in together. Though, you know, is the expectations that are put on the teams that are going to be a part of that. all great ideas are great, but I've always said this, like even a good business, they need two different people, right? They need the big idea people and they need the practical application people. You need the two sides, right? Because the big idea here with the Pro Rel and the keeping the US Open Cup the way that it is and how long it goes and playing in all these different places. The one thing I'll say is like, and I would be sad to see them take this away, are the games like when the Chattanooga Red Wolves and they brought out 12,000 people to their game in that community. Like I think that's the coolest thing ever. Like just from an objective, someone that is a part of this crusade, for lack of better words, here on NSN, trying to kind of get everybody under our umbrella and grow soccer. That's something that was really inspiring for me to see, because I can't remember the last time I've been in a minor league stadium that's had 12,000 people at a game. I mean, that's an unbelievable amount of people, but it's not that same everywhere you go. It's not the same exact experience,
if
so
we're gonna tip our hats, or I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, but that team that we're talking about, you would like to think that if they're drawing 12,000 fans to a game for US Open Cup round 1 game, right? Because that's what it was round 1. Because this was this was round, yeah, so I mean it's second round. But you're talking about, okay, well, what are they drawing to the normal games, right? They're probably drawing, 5,000-6,000 people. Maybe they're drawing 7. I don't know the average fandom of that, but I don't think that that's going to like they come back from the tournament and they bounced out of the group stage, right? They didn't win those games, whatever it might be. I think that they still draw their crowd. I think their crowd still rallies around them, right? I understand what you're saying, and there obviously is.
Why not make Chattanooga the site?
Huh?
Why not make somewhere like Chattanooga the
Well,
site?
well, I mean, again, I think that what you're trying to do is, I'm not sure how many teams are ultimately in the field. There's a lot of teams in this thing, so you'd have to. Again, the MLS teams don't come into the round of 32, right? So 32 teams left, right? So this is the third round. I think there's some 60 teams in this thing, right? So you start talking about that. Where are these teams going to go? And are the MLS teams going to do the same thing? Are they going to, and that's why I even said a couple of days ago, like, okay, so what ends up happening is you don't have the MLS in it at all, right? That allows more amateur teams to make their way into this thing. Right. Mm-hmm. And so they don't even come in. And then what ends up happening is whoever wins the cup, whoever wins this US Open Cup would then play like the all-star team of the MLS. That could be the play, right? Or something like that, right? Where now, you get to go do this. I mean, or to be fair, almost kind of like Mystery Alaska, right? Where, by the way, a great movie. I love Mystery Alaska. When the New York Rangers come in, they fly in, they play on their damn pond. Right? Like the US Open Cup winner, if they're an amateur team or a professional team, would host an MLS team for a game, an exhibition game. Like, Greg, how cool would that be for an amateur team? Like if you made it all the way, like just think about the incentive there, right? The money that could come from that, and the having an MLS team come to your stadium, wherever it might be, and it could be in Podunk, wherever, if you go all the way to the top, right? I think there's lots of incentives that you could come up with that would make this thing way more exciting and way more beneficial to the teams who are fighting like hell, who give a shit. And that's my problem. I keep saying this. If people give a shit, that's great, but they don't. They don't give a shit. The vast majority of the soccer fans out there don't care about this tournament, because if they did, they would be there. They would be there, right? They would be there to support their team regardless of what day of the competition it is and who they're playing against, right? Oh my God, here comes so-and-so. Let's go watch this game. It sounds terrible, but it's the case. How many people would go watch Inter Miami play if Messi wasn't on that team? 0, because they don't care about Inter Miami. But they care about Messi, so we sell out tickets in stadiums across America to go watch a single player who has done nothing for this game in our country ever in the history of mankind, other than showing up on a plane one day, hopping into a grocery store, and taking some pictures. That is the only thing that he has done in our country But yet here we go. We're gonna go
I think
buy
he put the
thousands of
MLS on the
tickets.
map at least a little bit. I think that
No, the MLS
might
was
be a
already on
touch
the map.
disingenuous.
I would argue that Beckham did that. Beckham came to the United States and he played in the MLS for like 10 years or however long it was. That man did not have to do that. And he did. He did it because he did it for selfish reasons. He wanted to come here and be in America. And I'm okay with that. Great. You help elevate the game of soccer. Right. But what is Messi doing for soccer in America? What are kids running around doing? They're putting on Messi jerseys. But what are they doing after Messi is done playing Inter Miami? Are they going to put that jersey down and go play soccer, or are they going to go watch Argentina?
Oh, my guess is they'll still continue playing. I mean, like, think
I
of
don't
the
know.
way that MJ affected the game of basketball. MJ made it international. Like I think Messi can in a way have the
Basketball
same
is
effect. I
different, though,
realize.
Nathan.
I understand,
Other
but
sports,
that
we're
one
fighting this battle.
individual, he's the
We're fighting this
greatest player
battle, man.
ever, JT. He's the greatest player to ever play the game of soccer. So yes, even if it's just the one individual that's drawing people
But
to
he's
the
not
game.
the greatest player to ever play in America, right? He's not the greatest American player of all time.
American play? No, you're right. Yeah, no, you're not.
So
He's not.
How is Lionel Messi going to elevate the game of soccer to the fans in America? And I'm not saying this because of anything other than the fact that here we are talking about American soccer culture.
Yeah,
American soccer culture. So is Lionel Messi helping elevate soccer in this country culturally? Soccer. He's elevating the world's game. Great. The whole world is well aware of who Lionel Messi is. But who is the American all-star that we could rally around that would help us grow this game? Because I'm not going to be the next Lionel Messi. There's no Lionel Messi in the United States. There probably never will be. But who is the next Landon Donovan? Is it Christian Pulisic? And that's the player we should be rallying around. Again, I'm saying this is
it's
that
just hard when they don't play here. That's the side.
That's right, and that in there lies the problem. Right? What lies the problem is that players leave to go across the pond because the competition is better, it's fiercer, it's all challenging, whatever you want to call it, and then the players that are on their way to retirement come back here and play on their way to retirement. This is like their swan song is here in the United States. That is what herein lies the problem. And the same reason why we struggle with what we're struggling with now when it comes to these games. Again, who's playing in these US Open Cup matches? Who's on the field? Is it in fact your starting 11? Is it in fact the best players on your team that give you the best chance to win? Night in, night out. Right? This is why fans aren't coming to the games. It is not because they don't want to root for their team or root for the US Open Cup. It's because they know they're putting a backup lineup in. Mm-hmm. They know they're not putting their number ones out there. Fans aren't dumb. They know you're not taking it seriously, so why are they taking it seriously? You put your best team out on the field each and every night, fans are going to show up. They're going to show up in droves. At least your diehard fans will. We aren't taking it seriously. And as long as we don't take it seriously, why the hell would fans take it seriously? Why the hell would I look at this and say, okay, well, what is this tournament and what's it all about? It's about giving a team a chance. It's about a chance that you otherwise wouldn't have. And are we giving these teams the best of what soccer has to offer in this country? And I would argue we aren't. And that's the part that is the biggest struggle for me. And we need to address that. And that's why I think this format needs to change. You're forcing your team to have to travel to one location and play in a tournament. That is a significant event that requires a ton of logistics. I think it changes the whole mindset.
And what's the incentive? That's the other thing. That there has to be a change in what the incentive is for the amateur teams.
U.S. soccer governs. U.S. soccer governs everything in this country. The U.S. Soccer Federation governs everything. They govern the international windows with FIFA. They govern CONCACAF. They govern everything from MLS all the way down to the lowest leagues in this country. They just have to wave a wand. Say, for 3 weeks, you're not playing any soccer but U.S. Open Cup. Like the World Cup starts having, like next summer when the World Cup is here. There's no MLS happening during that time period.
Mhm.
MLS will be shut down. The whole
Mhm.
soccer world will be shut down for a period of 2 months, 30 some days. The whole MLS is shut down. Why? Because there's a big tournament coming to town. You're telling me that we couldn't do a tournament like that, shut down soccer for 2 weeks? I mean, every year, Euro League, right? Europa, right? All the, here in the United States, with Gold Cup, during Gold Cup, what happens? We shut down everything and we play Gold Cup. Shut it down.
Right.
And then what would you do? Okay, so the players and again, does that mean the MLS teams? That's why I keep saying MLS should not be involved in this thing until the very, very end. But whatever. So, but USL Championship, USL League One, those teams are still fighting like hell for a ton of stuff. They're still fighting like hell. So shut their seasons down for 2 or 3 weeks or a month, whatever it's going to be, and go play US Open Cup. If you don't participate, you get, you get fined. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the incentive. I don't sit in that chair. I just, my perspective is that it ain't working. So,
Right.
and these teams who are coming in from these unknown worlds deserve more.
Right.
They deserve teams that give a shit. And because even if they do win those games, they don't win them, in the way that a win is still a win. You can't control a lineup. Going out and beating a team is still not an easy thing to do at this level. So you got to give them.
But they want to
hats
go
off,
out and play the best. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they want to.
They
I mean,
wanna they
would you rather
yeah.
win a game that that's why it's this question. A win's a win, and every team will want to win. But a couple of years ago, Detroit City FC beat Columbus here in an MLS team. They've done it twice now. I think twice, maybe it's 3 times. They've beat an MLS team, and they had one player on that roster that was notable. Everybody else was third string, second string players. They beat a second string team. Yeah, it's a huge win for the Detroit City, but they put their best players out there. It's not even a close game. They get their asses kicked.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the part that, like, as a fan of the game, I struggle with. I would rather a team put their best lineup out there and kick their team's ass, because that's what you're supposed to do. Then you come in and you put your worst team out there that you would normally not play with, and you lose. And
Right.
we're all supposed to go, well, great job, Detroit City FC.
Right. So I guess let me ask you this. Right. I'll agree to disagree on the whole notion that Messi isn't helping growing the game of soccer in the United States, right? Because I know that you can't really truly compare the different sports, but I think when you have one generational player, I think it can change things. I think it absolutely can elevate everybody else's game around the world. But with that being said, what would your solution be to keeping the best available American talent playing in America? Because I understand that it's easy to kind of throw up our hands and say, well, this tournament is watered down, or this isn't working out the way that it should be, which I agree. I mean, even those club teams, like, they want to play the best of the best. I imagine in their mind, even if it means that talent wise they are at such a disadvantage where they might lose 5-0, I still think these clubs want to play the best of the best because they get to share the field with them. Like, just the simple act of getting to go out there and share the field with the best available players is something that I'm sure these clubs really want. They want the availability to do, even if that's in the round robin play, first round, whatever that looks like. But in order to make it bigger, you're right. We have to have everyone invested in this thing. And we just don't. We simply don't. We don't have the structure, and it's clear that the MLS is not. They're half in, half out, like we were saying. But how do you even go about keeping the best soccer players in the U.S.?
Yeah, so my first thing first, I think that the MLS needs to create a singular team of the best players in the MLS that go and play, and we have to buy like a team in Europe. Like, no joke. Like, call it MLS A, whatever, and send 25 of our players and playing against those teams in the EPL every single week. Right, so go buy a team, maybe make a team. I don't know. Go get with the the FA. Go get with the EPL and literally create a team that we send our best players. Like, you're drafted, go play in Europe. Like, go play
To go play over there
on the same team. same team. Like it's like U.S. men's national team, but in the EPL. It's
Mm,
like you literally have a team in there. It's an MLS
right.
team, right? I don't know how that would work, but that'd be a why now all those players are playing against the best players in the world every single game. It's an American team. It'll never
Right.
happen, but it would be a great thing to do, right?
Isn't there
That would
something to be said about
immediately
getting butts in stands though here in the
huh?
U.S.?
What?
Isn't there something to be said about just getting people in the stadium to see a game though
Yeah,
here
but
in the United States?
if the long-term goal is to win a World Cup, that's step number 1, right? These kids have to go immediately to the best place in the world to play. The other option is you take all these teams and you take billionaires who have lots and lots of money and say, we're going to buy you out of the EPL and come play in America. Right? So you take the EPL and say, hey, let's take 4 or 5 teams from there, give them an MLS team, and they're playing here. They're not even playing over there. They're playing here. Right? How do we do that? Now every summer the MLS has like these these exhibition games with the EPL. That's a joke. Because they're not, it's just like warm-ups. It's like a scrimmage. They're friendlies. They don't mean anything. You need to take those teams and bring them here. Right. And what I mean, and the reason you have to do that is because the only way for if I mentioned this, I think yesterday, if you're trying to grow a player and you have the best American players all playing in the same league for the most part, right? Well, the drop off between the best American player and the, your good player, your great player, maybe who's in this level, it can be significant. So, how challenged are these players really being during the course of any given game? And so, how do you grow the player? So them playing, and this is why the MLS is where it's at. And people complain and bitch about how it's a good league, but it's not a great league, and it doesn't even come close to measuring what you get across the pond. It's because the talent level isn't the same. It's not the same talent. It's not the same ball movement. It's not the same technical aspect, not the same tactical. It's better than it's ever been, but we're still way far apart. So how do you change that? These players have to play against those players all the time. So a merger of leagues would be fantastic. Merging USL Championship and MLS would do nothing for us in growth. It would do zero. It would be nothing. Nothing would come of that. We'd be taking the same players who are on some level, good, above average, whatever, and playing against each other where they've already been playing their entire lives. They'd be better by now if that was the case. It's not going to happen. So you need to merge those leagues. We need to get that EPL to come and be a part of what we're doing. And that's how you make the players better. And it takes 10 years. But that 10 years would be so important to the growth of American soccer. It'd be unbelievable. We need Lionel Messi to come here when he's 18 and not when he's 37. Right?
I don't know if that's a realistic goal though.
Well, no, because here's the thing. The reason the player is going to the EPL is because that player knows that they want to get better and make as bunch of money and give themselves a chance to do whatever. That's the place they go.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to flip that somehow. How do you flip that? You got to bring those teams here. So, like what the NFL is doing, the NFL is going across the pond and they're having team games played. Why are they doing that? They're doing that to raise awareness in Europe. So, hopefully, Europe will go, let's purchase an NFL team. The long-term goal of the NFL is for someone in Europe to go, we want a team. We want another team. That's the long-term goal. So they can go from the amount of teams they have now, add 8 more teams to the league, and they do it by just adding in the geographics over there. And now we have these teams going back and forth. That's what needs to happen. We need to have Chelsea have their team here. Liverpool have a team here. No MLS, like no LA Galaxy. No. At Liverpool here. And Liverpool will send their team here. Now, you might not get the best players from Liverpool, but I can still tell you this right now that the Liverpool backups are still probably better than half of the MLS players in the team. So, that will change. And then the back and forth, right? The back and forth that could happen from that. That's what needs to happen. We do that. The level of play in this country will immediately start to pick up. And to be fair, what does that do? It creates feeders, right? And it will build. I believe that would help solve the problem. Now, internally, politically, it's a shit show here in the United States. It's a shit show. Peter even talked about it. A lot of things need to change. U.S. soccer, talk is cheap. It does not hold any weight. Get U.S. soccer officials to talk about this. Yeah, we can try to get U.S. soccer to talk about this, but reality is from the hiring process to the coaching processes, it doesn't matter. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And that's how that works in this world. And it works like that in every sport, though. The political aspect of soccer and sports in this country is the detriment to it as well.
Mhm.
Right? Everybody thinks they know what they're doing, and everybody loves to talk about this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, the MLS is a quality league. It's a quality league.
Mhm.
It's not the best league. It's the best league in this country. That doesn't say a whole lot when we're not fighting. So, from a cultivating talent standpoint, we also need to change the pay for play in this country. I mean, I know at the academy levels that's a thing. At the academy levels, they do that, right? You don't pay. Right? You walk into the academy, it's paid for by the clubs. Room and board oftentimes is covered as well. So that's great. But that happens when you're 14 years old. So for the first 5 or 6 years of your career, you're paying thousands of dollars to get to a point where you can be recognized to be in that place in the first place. Pay to play is a big problem because you can't find and recognize talent in that environment. Right. So here, there's a huge gap between the training regimen between U.S. soccer and Europe and Mexico, different tactics, training mentality. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Like, too, I mean, if you think about it too, like if the reason our players go across the pond is because it's a better environment. It's a more challenging environment. You get better by playing against the best players in the world. It's no different than a youth player who wants to go and play the academy or ECNL. They want to play against the best.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, our MLS players aren't playing. They're playing against the best of the American, but they're playing against the best. They're playing against the best that's available to them, but not the overall best. Right. So if we brought those overall best here on a regular basis and played them every single day, our players would get better. And to be fair, Europe knows that. The whole world knows that. They know that. They're not dumb. The second that the United States can create and cultivate a level of talent that is equal to that of other countries and play against that on a regular basis, they know they're screwed. Because the Americans have always been the best at stuff. So they don't want that. So, they don't want that, man. So I'm telling you, like, that would solve so many problems. And Peter's like, success breeds success. It's 100% the truth. Well, yeah, we're gonna send over like 15 or 20 kids a year to Europe. That's great. We'll take them, bring them in, blah blah blah. But if we give them everything, man, then they're gonna take our World Cups from us. They're gonna take our international cups. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. I mean, we want that, but they don't want that. Because if we catch up, man, whew,
might be a long ride.
Yeah. So, but I'm telling you that would be a tremendous opportunity for the United States. I bring Liverpool here, man. Bring Chelsea here. Bring Tottenham here. Bring bring teams from the Bundesliga. Bring it doesn't matter. Bring teams here. Get them here. Let them play for 2 months. Their best players against our best players. Because right now the only players that are seeing that are U.S. men's national team players. That's the only ones. And if you make that team, great. But if you don't make it, you're never going to see it. And how do you make tier players better?
Right.
So that's a
and
huge
I guess
thing.
the World Cup on a level is that, because it is bringing the best players in the world here to the United States. And that's not the same as what you're saying. And I agree. I think that would be great, just creating a better environment by bringing those players over, which would create more buzz simultaneously. But I guess that's why, especially when Dean Linke talked about how big the World Cup is going to be when it comes to the United States, like, he wasn't kidding. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons is because, and that's interesting because I know we got to wrap up here pretty soon, but I didn't even think about that. That the NFL, the MLB, all these places going to all these different parts of the world and bringing their best players there. Now, mind you, they don't stay there. But these initiatives are every single year. I mean, Germany, the UK, Japan, Mexico. I mean, everywhere. that's not the same thing when it comes to soccer. They're not, the Premier League isn't coming over to Portland and having one of their matchups. They're not. That's just not a thing. I didn't even think about it that way. So that actually kind of opened my eyes a little bit. But I guess that's what highlights the World Cup aspect of it too.
Yeah, so there's Peter's bringing this up. This was just announced, I think, yesterday. A player from AS Frenzy who won the national championship for UPSL back 2 summers ago. Yeah, 2 summers ago. 23. Yeah, 23. Anyways, he apologize, my phone's going off. He is now playing in the Spanish league across the pond, right? And this is a kid that, I mean, he was really good. I mean, he was like, I think at the time he was like 17, 16 years old. This kid was unbelievable. I mean, his speed, his awareness, his finishing was all spot on, and I could see how he could make it across. He was a fantastic player. So it makes a ton of sense. With that being said, we do have to wrap this up, but that is episode number 66. It's in the books. We'll be back here tomorrow morning on Friday here, episode number 67. We'll continue this conversation about the U.S. Open Cup and so much more. Don't forget, subscribe, like us, and share this with your friends and family. Make sure that, you come back and continue to watch what we're doing here, not only in regards to Inside the Game, but also in regards to what we are doing here on the platform for all of our games and everything else. There's a current poll right now on our website. Okay, the poll is, do you think that MLS teams should be in the U.S. Open Cup? Head over to the nationalsoccernetwork.com. Just click down below. It's in our chat function. Check out the poll. Get your vote in. Put your comments in there. Let us know what your thoughts are about this. I'm curious what your thoughts are in regards to this conversation. Should MLS teams be in the U.S. Open Cup? We'll talk about that poll and much more tomorrow right here on Inside the Game. This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.